Now, there have been investigations. It was raised during the Oputa panel, for instance, but nothing conclusive. If you recall, at the time, an autopsy was conducted on my father's body after he died, and the autopsy results were that he died of natural causes. But we all know he drank that fatal cup of tea. We all know this. So nobody has ever been held accountable. It's such a huge weight on the psyche of the family. You need for justice to be done, which is why this gesture, even though it does not address his death, goes a long way to healing some of those wounds.
Do you think we'll ever know?
I hope we do. Now I'm never going to say never, because this GCFR situation is something I've wanted for so long, and I thought it would never happen in my lifetime. So all of a sudden, I'm just so optimistic. My hope is renewed, on every level.
Yeah. Back to President Buhari now. Like you said, a lot of people have said that this is probably political. This is probably a campaign strategy and all that, which of course you don't think should hold any water. There's talks about, the honor is going to be conferred on June 12th in Abuja. I'm sure you and your family probably will be there to receive this. The Senate is also talking about releasing the INEC results from the elections and declaring him president, pretty much, which is what's going to happen. Going the whole hog, basically. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm delighted, because I'll never forget, I was in England at the time on June 12, 1993. I was doing my GCSEs. So I called the house, and my older sister, Aya, answers the phone. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, oh, Daddy's winning, but something really weird happened. They suddenly stopped announcing the elections. I can never forget that conversation, because that's the day our lives changed forever. So it would be amazing if they announced the election results once and for all. Although they have been announced unofficially, we do know. It would be wonderful. So officially, people can stop saying the presumed winner of the June 12th elections. I find that deeply offensive, because he is the actual, factual winner.
Yeah.
He was the president-elect of Nigeria. He was.
I did see an interview that you granted earlier where you were talking about lessons from 1993 and now, and how Nigeria has even regressed, not progressed, especially with religion and tribes being a part of politics. It was a Muslim ticket, something that's completely unthinkable today. What kind of lessons are we going to be drawing, and do you think those lessons will actually come back?
I hope
to become reality?
I'm convinced that they do. I probably sound like some wide-eyed Pollyanna, but just my nature is to be positive all the time, and I'm convinced that they will, because we cannot continue in this way. The Muslim ticket that happened then in 1993, nobody batted an eyelid. Today, you wouldn't even dream of it. Even on a state level, it would be shocking. So why have we become like this? We need to only assess a person's competence, character, antecedents, and that is all that is relevant. Everything else. Look at the rise of sectarian violence in this country. So much strife, so much bloodshed because of a certain religion, because of how you choose to worship God, because of what kind of name you bear. It's ridiculous. This is not who we are. This is not the best of who we are.
Yeah. Before we go on a break, I want to find out your thoughts about Dino Melaye, who we saw make a statement. He did say that MKO is not a Nigerian anymore because he is dead, and GCFR only should be given to people alive. When you heard that statement, what do you think?
I thought it was a laughable statement, but I'm really happy. I'm thrilled that Dino Melaye can stand in the Senate and make laughable statements. People like my father gave their lives for Dino Melaye to stand in the Senate and talk such rubbish, quite frankly. If we were still under the military, would he be able to do that? This is the beauty of democracy. Any honor that can be given should be given. And he is a Nigerian. It holds no water, Dino Melaye's argument. He has every right to make an argument. This is the job of the opposition in a robust democracy, and he is doing that. But for goodness sakes, let the arguments be logical. Let them be sensible. Is he going to propose that somebody like Awolowo, who is also a GCFR holder, should be stripped of his title because he has died? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we'll come back, we'll try and round up this conversation and find out what we should be looking forward to, what your thoughts are going forward about the entire June 12th situation, and of course, the recognition of MKO Abiola. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us before the break, we're talking about President Buhari conferring the honor of GCFR to the late MKO Abiola. And I have here with me Tundu Abiola, lawyer and daughter of the late MKO Abiola. Before the break, you were talking about Senator Dine Melaye, and I don't know if you had finished your point about him and generally his talk about the fact that your president shouldn't be getting the honor since he's not alive.
It's one of those things. I just don't take it personally because it is human nature. I think this whole conversation is about human nature, how we talked about ego being a part of human nature. The moral indignation is also a part of human nature, but that's not what I'm hearing from Mr. Melaye. He's just being petty in the guise of moral indignation. And that's how life is. For every Mordecai, there's a Haman. There's always going to be somebody saying something. So as long as you continue to rise above that, then it's fine. It's not personal.
All right, going forward now, we've talked about three sort of major personalities in this now. Going forward, let's start with former military president, Babangida. What do you want to see from him with regards to June 12th? Because like you said, you did say that he's apologized to the family, which of course we didn't know about, but Nigeria has never really seen that from him. What do you want to see from him going forward, taking ownership, maybe? I
would really urge him to just make himself vulnerable and just be honest. It's okay. A mistake was made. We can never rewind time. And I'll also say, this has never been made public. When my father, you see, there are two aspects to this. Okay. There's the annulment, there are three. The annulment, the incarceration of my father, and his murder, right? Babangida is responsible for the annulment, not the incarceration, and not his murder. I feel like Babangida needs to publicly express himself fully and tell the story fully. What has been done cannot be undone, but it would also unburden him, I believe, I would hope. And then also explain how during my father's incarceration, he did try to get my father released by Abacha. He did. He was able to secure a deal for conditional release, but my father did not accept it. He wanted his mandate. They offered him the money back from his campaign, which was, I think it was 6 billion naira, which at the time was in 1990. You can imagine what a fortune that was. They offered him to, reimburse him, and he should just drop this mandate. And my father refused. He refused to deny. He refused to sell out, to his eternal credit. I would hope that Babangida would one day just express fully.
And tell the story.
He has to. I don't know. But ego is such a difficult thing to surmount. I mean, as we're saying earlier, even in between relationships, between friends, even between parents, you know you're wrong, you cannot apologize. It's actually very difficult to do. Yeah. But I hope that he just can beat his ego and just express this to the Nigerian public. We need to hear it.
What about General Abdul Salam?
Regarding Abdul Salam, I have no resentment towards him or towards anybody else. You have to forgive, otherwise you'll be, consumed by these things. But with General Abdul Salam, also what has never been made public, and I hope he does, what we were told as a family, is that he was aware that my father was going to be killed. They felt that he was being stubborn. Drop this mandate and move on with your life. But my father would not betray the mandate of the Nigerian people. So former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, was actually told, by sources, this was what was going to happen. And that gentleman, he came to Nigeria and tried to convince my father, drop this thing, you will die. And my father was like, well, then so be it. So it was in the offing, it was in the ether. They all knew what was about to happen. And my father chose heroism. And I'm proud of him, although I disapprove of that choice. Also, Emeka and Yako, they all knew. Yeah. They knew what was going to happen.
Well, I wish we could continue this conversation. There's so much we need to unpack, but congratulations, of course, to you and your family. I mean, this fight, like you said, has been going on for over 2 decades now, and finally, at least, we have some sort of closure on one part of it. But of course, the murder is still hanging in the air, and we'll be looking forward to all the coverage on June 12th, where your father will be conferred with the GCFR honor. Thanks for being here today, Tundu Abiola.
Thank you so much for having me, Abacha.
We'll take a break now and be right back with some entertainment. Please stay with us.